Tom was just an ordinary guy living in a small town on Earth. He had a job at a tech company, a small apartment, and a pretty quiet life. He never imagined that anything exciting would ever happen to him. Then one day everything changed. It started when he received an official invitation, a shiny silver envelope that looked out of place in his simple mailbox. He opened it and saw that it was an invitation from the government. The letter explained that the Earth had been selected for a special intergalactic program, one where a few humans would be paired with alien representatives from different planets. The program's goal was to promote peace and understanding between species. Tom was chosen as one of the lucky participants. At first, Tom thought it was a joke. He laughed and thought about tossing the letter in the trash, but something about it felt real. After all, how could anyone fake an invitation with the Earth's government seal? He did some research, and everything checked out. The news had even mentioned similar exchanges before. Finally, after a lot of thinking, Tom decided to go for it. He packed his things and made his way to the space station where he would meet his alien partner. The whole experience was surreal. The space station was huge, like something out of a science fiction movie. Shiny walls and advanced technology everywhere. But what stood out the most was the otherworldly beings that filled the station. They were tall, short, colorful, and even glowing in some cases. Each one had a unique appearance, and they looked just like the aliens from the movies, only real. Tom was nervous, and rightfully so. He had no idea what to expect. But nothing could prepare him for what came next. He was led to a large room where he saw her for the first time. Zara stood across the room, her eyes bright with curiosity. She was beautiful, though not in a way Tom had expected. Her skin was a smooth shade of blue, almost like the color of the ocean at sunrise. She had long silver hair that flowed down her back in gentle waves. Her eyes were a piercing violet, and her expression held a deep intelligence. She was unlike anything Tom had ever seen, and for a moment he was speechless. Zara stepped forward. With a warm smile, despite her alien features, she radiated kindness. Tom noticed how calm and collected she was, like she had already experienced this situation many times before. He felt awkward, unsure of how to act. He had never met an alien before, let alone been partnered with one. What was he supposed to do? Would she like him? Would they even understand each other? "Hello, Tom," Zara said in perfect English, her voice smooth and melodic. "I'm Zara. I'm looking forward to learning from you." Tom blinked, surprised by how normal it all sounded. She wasn't what he expected at all. He had imagined something more. ... Alien. Maybe a monster or a robot. But Zara was not only beautiful, she seemed approachable. He shook her hand, and for a moment, it felt just like shaking the hand of a person from another country. It was both strange and familiar at the same time. "It's nice to meet you," Tom managed to say, his voice a bit shaky. He cleared his throat, feeling embarrassed. I wasn't sure what to expect. This is all so new to me." Zara smiled, her eyes twinkling. "I understand," shall exchange. It wasn't as simple as just talking. They had to learn to understand each other in many different ways. Zara was from a species that valued logic and reason above all else, and she was fascinated by the emotional depth of humans. To her, emotions were a foreign concept. In her world, emotions were often controlled and hidden to maintain order and peace. But she was eager to learn about the passion and chaos that came with being human. Tom, on the other hand, was curious about Zara's culture. He learned that her people were highly intelligent and technologically advanced, capable of traveling across the galaxy. But they also faced challenges of their own. Zara explained that her species had long ago abandoned the pursuit of emotions in favor of pure logic. The idea of expressing emotions was considered weak, even dangerous. As they spent more time together, Tom started to see Zara in a new light. She wasn't just an alien. She was someone who had her own struggles, her own desires, and her own way of seeing the universe. She wasn't perfect, but she was real. The first few days were difficult for both of them. They stumbled through conversations and often needed help understanding each other's ways. But slowly, they began to connect. Zara's intelligence was paired with a curiosity about human life that Tom found refreshing. She was genuinely interested in everything from the simplest things like human food to more complicated concepts like human history and emotions. Tom couldn't help but be drawn to her. She was so different from anyone he had ever met, yet so similar in the way she wanted to understand the world. He realized that maybe they weren't so different after all. Despite the distance between their species, they shared something important, a desire for connection. By the end of the week, Tom found himself excited about the next chapter of this strange new life. He wasn't sure where it would go, but he knew one thing for certain. This was only the beginning of an incredible journey. And who knew? Maybe Zara's presence in his life would teach him more than he ever expected. The days following, Tom's first meeting with Zara felt like a blur. At first, everything was so new and overwhelming, but over time, things began to settle into a routine. Tom would meet Zara each day in the space station's learning center, a large, open room filled with advanced technology and interactive displays. It was here that they would learn about each other's worlds, step by step. Zara was incredibly intelligent, and it didn't take long for her to grasp the basics of human culture. But the more they talked, the more Tom realized that Zara had no understanding of emotions. In her world, emotions were seen as something to control, something that could cloud judgment. She told Tom that in her society, people were taught from a young age to suppress their feelings in order to keep peace. It was the only way to maintain order, she explained. Tom couldn't imagine living in a world where emotions were hidden. He found it strange, even a little sad. Emotions to him were what made life interesting. They made people laugh, cry, love, and sometimes even fight. They were what made every human unique. One morning, Zara asked Tom to explain the concept of love. She was genuinely curious, her violet eyes wide with interest. Love? Tom thought for a moment. It's a feeling, I guess. Something that makes you care deeply for another person. It can make you happy, but it can also make you hurt. Zara tilted her head, trying to understand. But why would anyone want to feel pain because of another? Tom smiled softly. Because the happiness you feel when you love someone makes the pain worth it. It's like a connection that makes you feel alive. Zara was silent for a while processing his words. I see, she said slowly. In my world, pain is something to be avoided. But I think I understand why humans cherish it. As the days went by, their conversations became deeper and more meaningful. Zara's questions about human emotions and culture never stopped. She wanted to understand everything, from art to laughter, from friendship to grief. She was fascinated by how humans could be so emotional, so unpredictable, and yet so resilient. One afternoon, as they sat together in a park on the space station, Zara asked Tom about his favorite kind of music. Tom, feeling a little embarrassed, confessed that he didn't listen to much music. But Zara was insistent. She wanted to know what human music sounded like. Tom hesitated, but then decided to share. He pulled out his phone and played a soft song. Zara listened closely, her eyes closing as she focused on the sounds. When the song ended, she opened her eyes, clearly moved. That was beautiful, she said softly. It made me feel something. A connection, maybe. A deep, warm feeling inside. Tom was surprised. He didn't think Zara would feel anything from such a simple song. But here she was, experiencing something very human, emotion. Zara looked at him, her expression thoughtful. I think I understand now. Humans use music, art, and stories to express things that can't be put into words. It's how you connect with others, how you make sense of the world. Tom smiled. Exactly. Sometimes words aren't enough. From then on, Zara began exploring more human activities. She wanted to know what made humans laugh, what made them cry, and how they dealt with pain. One day, she asked Tom to watch a movie with her. It was a comedy, one of those classic films where the characters got into silly situations. Tom was hesitant at first, unsure how Zara would react, but he agreed. As they watched the movie together, Zara laughed. She laughed out loud, the sound echoing in the room. It wasn't just a small chuckle, either; it was a full, hearty laugh. Tom stared at her, surprised and delighted. He had never imagined an alien could laugh like that. It felt ... human, and it made him feel closer to her. After the movie, Zara turned to him with a huge smile on her face. "That was amazing," she said, still giggling. "It made me feel happy in a way I didn't know was possible." Tom was amazed by how much Zara was learning and changing. She had come to him as someone who didn't understand human emotions. But now she was beginning to feel them. The more she felt, the more she understood about humanity. I found it strange and beautiful at the same time. Zara's growing interest in human emotions made Tom think. At first, he had been the one teaching her about his world. But now, it was becoming a two-way exchange. She was teaching him too. She was teaching him about how to be more open, about how to embrace emotions fully, without fear. One evening, they sat on a balcony overlooking the stars. Zara turned to him and asked, "Tom, do humans always seek connection like this?" Tom thought for a moment before answering. "We need connections. Whether it's with family, friends, or even strangers. It's how we get through life. Without connection, we'd be lost." Zara nodded, a serious expression on her face. I think that's what I've been missing. Connection. I spent so long trying to suppress everything inside me, but now I see that being open to others, to feelings, is what makes life meaningful." Tom felt a warmth spread through him at her words. He realized just how much he had come to care for her, how much he admired her willingness to learn and grow. She wasn't just an alien to him. Any of their conversations grew more personal. Shared stories about his childhood, about his family, and even about his past relationships. Zara, in turn, opened up about her life. She told him about her home planet, a world full of technology and strict rules. Emotions, she explained, were considered dangerous in her society. People were taught to suppress them, to think with logic and reason above all else. But as Zara spent more time on Earth, she began to question everything she had been taught. She was starting to understand that emotions weren't something to be feared or avoided. They were a part of being alive, a way to connect with others. Tom could see the change in her. She was becoming more open, more willing to embrace the feelings she had long kept hidden. One afternoon, while sitting in the park, Zara asked Tom something that caught him off guard. "Tom," she began, her voice quiet, "why do humans love so deeply? Why do you let yourself feel such strong emotions for others?" Tom paused for a moment, not expecting the question. He looked at Zara, her violet eyes watching him with curiosity. It was as if she were trying to unlock a secret about humans that she couldn't quite understand. "Well," Tom said slowly, "I think love is what makes life worth living. Right. We love because it gives us meaning. It makes us feel connected to each other, even when things are tough. It's not always easy, but it's part of being human." Zara nodded, deep in thought. "I've never been able to love like that. Our kind believes that emotions cloud our judgment, but sometimes I wonder if maybe they are what make life more real, more ... meaningful." Tom smiled softly. "Maybe that's what makes us different. We let our emotions lead us, even when it's hard." As the days passed, Zara's understanding of emotions deepened. She started to appreciate human art in a new way. The paintings, the music, the films, all of them were windows into human feelings. She could see the joy, the pain, the love, and the heartache that came with being human. And as she explored these aspects of humanity, she began to feel things she had never felt before. One evening, Zara invited Tom to watch a movie. It was a romantic comedy, one of those light-hearted films where the characters fall in love despite all odds. Tom wasn't sure how Zara would react. After all, he had never imagined an alien could understand human romance. To his surprise, Zara was completely captivated. She laughed at the funny moments and seemed to grow more and more engaged as the movie progressed. When the characters shared their first kiss, Zara looked at Tom, her eyes wide with wonder. Is that what love feels like? She asked, her voice filled with curiosity. Tom chuckled. It's one way to express it, yeah. But love can feel different for everyone. It's not just about romantic kiss. It's about caring for someone deeply, no matter what. Zara looked thoughtful, then nodded. I think I'm starting to understand. Love isn't something you control, it's something you feel, something that happens whether you want it to or not. That night, as they sat in the quiet darkness of the room, Zara turned to Tom with a serious look on her face. Tom, I've been thinking, she said softly. I've spent my entire life suppressing my emotions, thinking that I was stronger for it, but now, I'm not sure. I think I've been hiding a part of myself for too long, and it's because of you. You've shown me that it's okay to feel. It's okay to be vulnerable. Tom was taken aback by her honesty. He never expected Zara to say something so personal, especially after spending so many years in a society where emotions were considered a weakness. He didn't know what to say, but he felt a deep sense of admiration for her. Zara was no longer the mysterious, emotionless alien she had once been. She was a person, someone who felt, who cared, and who was willing to grow. I'm glad I could help you see that, Tom said gently. But you've done more for me than I've done for you. You've taught me to be open, to not be afraid of my own emotions. I've always been kind of closed off, but because of you, I'm learning to let go a little. Zara smiled at him, her expression soft and warm. Then we are both learning from each other. From that day on, their connection grew stronger. They continued to explore the wonders of each other's worlds, but it was the emotional bond they shared that truly brought them closer. Zara began to embrace her feelings more openly, while Tom found himself becoming more thoughtful and understanding of the complexities of emotion. They were teaching each other, and in the process they were forming a partnership unlike any other. One evening, after a long day of learning about Earth's history, Tom looked at Zara and said, You know, I never thought I'd end up with an alien partner, but I'm glad I did. Zara smiled back, her eyes glowing with a quiet happiness. And I never thought I would learn to love. And now I think I might be learning how. The bond between them was undeniable. They were two beings from different worlds, different species, but somehow they had found a way to connect on a deeper level. Their differences didn't separate them. Instead, they brought them closer together, showing them both that love, connection, and understanding could bridge any gap even between humans and aliens. Things were going well for Tom and Zara there. Relationship had grown from being just a cultural exchange to something deeper. They had become true companions, learning and understanding each other in ways they hadn't expected. Tom had even started to think of Zara as more than just a partner from another planet. She had become his friend, someone he could trust and confide in. However, as with any close relationship, problems began to arise. At first, they were small misunderstandings. Zara's culture had taught her to be very literal, and sometimes she would take Tom's words in ways he didn't intend. Tom, on the other hand, wasn't always careful with his words. He would joke about things that Zara didn't fully understand, and at times it left her feeling confused or even hurt. One evening, after a long day of learning, Zara asked Tom a question about human friendships. She was curious about how humans formed such strong bonds with each other, especially when those relationships could sometimes end in heartbreak. Tom, how do you trust someone enough to call them a friend? She asked, her violet eyes focused on him with that familiar, intense curiosity. Tom paused for a moment, thinking about how to answer. Well, friendship is built on trust, Zara. You have to open up to someone and let them in, even if there's a risk they might hurt you. But without that trust, you don't really have a friend. Zara frowned slightly, clearly processing his words. But if trust can be broken, W along. Later that evening, Tom made an offhand remark about how human emotions can get in the way of logic sometimes. Zara had heard something like this before, but this time, for some reason, it struck a nerve. Zara's face changed, and her voice became quiet. Do you believe that about me, Tom? That I let my emotions get in the way of logic? Tom, caught off guard by the shift in her tone, tried to backtrack. No, Zara, I didn't mean it like that. I was just talking about how sometimes people let their feelings cloud their judgment. But Zara wasn't convinced. It seems like you think emotions are something to be controlled. You've been teaching me that emotions are important, but now I see, maybe you think they make people weak. Tom was stunned. He had never meant to suggest that Zara's emotions made her weak. In fact, it was the opposite. He'd admired how open she had become, how she had started to embrace her emotions. But Zara's expression told him she was hurt. He hadn't realized how much his words had affected her. "I'm sorry," he said quickly. "That's not what I meant. It's just ... I'm still learning too. I don't always know how to explain myself, I think your emotions make you stronger, Zara. You're not like anyone I've met. I just didn't want you to think that emotions are a weakness." Zara looked away, her lips pressed together as if she were holding back something. For a long time, there was only silence between them. Tom felt the weight of the moment, the tension in the air. He hated that he had hurt her, even if it wasn't intentional. After a while, Zara spoke, her voice barely above a whisper. "I've spent my life suppressing everything I feel. Now I'm trying to understand emotions, trying to trust that it's okay to feel, but sometimes ... it's hard." Tom's heart sank. He had no idea how difficult this had been for Zara, for her. Emotions were something dangerous, something her society had taught her to hide. He could see how much she was struggling with it. "I know it's hard," he said softly, "but you don't have to go through it alone. I'm here with you, Zara. You're not weak because you feel things. It's part of who you are, and I think it's beautiful." Zara turned to him, her eyes softening. "You really think that?" Tom nodded. "I do. I've seen how much you've grown since we started this. I've seen how you're opening up, and it's not easy. But you're doing it. You're learning to be more human, and that's something amazing." There was a long pause before Zara spoke again. "I'm sorry, Tom. I ... I misunderstood. I thought you were saying I wasn't good enough because of my emotions." "Right. I'm learning. And it's scary. It feels like I'm losing control of something that's been a part of me for so long." Tom reached out and took her hand, giving it a gentle squeeze. "You're not losing control. You're just finding a new way to live. A way that's more real. And I'm really proud of you, Zara." Zara smiled, a small but sincere smile. "Thank you, Tom. I'll try to be more patient with myself." From that moment, they both knew that their relationship had reached a new level. They were no longer just learning about each other's cultures. They were learning about themselves, too. They understood now that conflicts would come, but it was how they handled them that mattered. They both had things to learn about love, about trust, about what it meant to truly care for another person. That night, they sat in silence, looking out at the stars. For the first time, it didn't feel like they were just two people from different worlds. It felt like they were partners, equals, walking together through something they were both still figuring out. The days following their first real conflict were filled with a new sense of understanding. Tom and Zara were closer than ever, but there was an underlying tension in the air, something neither of them could ignore. The time for Zara to return to her home planet was fast approaching. The diplomatic mission that had brought her to Earth was coming to an end. She had to leave, and the thought of being separated from Tom was something she had been trying to avoid thinking about. But now, it was unavoidable. It was one of those quiet evenings when Tom and Zara sat in the park again, stars above them twinkling like tiny diamonds in the vast black sky. The air was cool, and the sounds of the city in the distance felt far away. Zara seemed quieter than usual, her thoughts far off, and Tom noticed the change in her mood. "Zara," Tom asked softly, his voice filled with concern. "Wrong?" Zara hesitated before looking at him, her eyes searching his face. "Tom, I need to talk to you about something important," she said, her voice serious. Tom's heart raced. He had a feeling he knew where this was going, but he didn't want to believe it. He didn't want to think about Zara leaving. "Is it?" he asked, trying to keep his voice steady. Zara took a deep breath before speaking again. "The time has come for me to return to my planet. My mission here is over. I was sent to Earth to represent my people, and I've completed that task. I have to go back. Tom felt his chest tighten at the words. Da 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 da. He had known this moment was coming, but hearing it out loud made it all the more real. He didn't know what to say. Zara had become such an important part of his life. The thought of her leaving felt like a part of him was being ripped away. I understand, Tom said, though the words didn't feel real. He could see the sadness in Zara's eyes, the same sadness he felt deep inside. But I wish you didn't have to go. Zara looked at him, her gaze soft and filled with emotion. I don't want to leave either, Tom, but I have a duty to my people. I can't just abandon it. Tom nodded, his heart heavy. He knew how important her duty was to her. It was the same with his own life. There were responsibilities he couldn't ignore. But this was different. This wasn't just about duty or mission it. It was about the connection they had built. He didn't want to lose that. Zara, Tom said, taking a deep breath, you don't have to choose between your duty and what we have. Maybe you can stay here. You've learned so much about humans, about emotions, about life. We could continue learning together. Zara looked away for a moment, as if deep in thought. Her hands were folded in her lap, and she seemed to be weighing her options carefully. Tom could see the struggle in her expression. She was torn between her love for him and the responsibilities she had to her people. I wish it were that simple, she replied softly. But my people, they expect me to return. They need me, Tom. I can't just ignore them. I've spent my whole life serving them, following the rules. If I stay, I'll be breaking everything I've known. Tom's heart sank. He had hoped for a different answer, but he understood. Zara had spent years following the rigid rules of her society. Her culture had taught her to prioritize duty over everything else. He didn't want to ask her to give that up. He didn't want to be the reason she felt torn between two worlds. I don't want to ask you to choose, Zara, Tom said quietly. I just don't want to lose you. Zara reached out and took his hand, squeezing it gently.
Ow.
You haven't lost me. Even if I go back to my planet, I'll always carry this with me. What we've shared here, it's something I'll never forget. You've shown me a side of life I never knew existed.
Right.
I've learned to feel, to live, and to love. And I owe that to you. Tom felt a wave of emotion wash over him. He had always thought of love as something that happened naturally, something that grew over time. But with Zara, he had learned that love wasn't just about the good times. It was about understanding, about sharing your heart with someone, and about supporting each other through the tough moments. Zara had shown him that, and now he had to be strong enough to let her go, even if it hurt. Zara stood up, pulling Tom with her. Together, they walked slowly toward the edge of the park, where the lights of the city shimmered in the distance. They walked in silence for a while, the weight of the moment heavy between them. Tom couldn't bring himself to say anything more. What could he say? How could he ask her to stay when she had so much more at stake than just their relationship? Finally, Zara stopped and turned to face him. Tom, she said softly, I need to make a decision. I've been thinking about it for days, and I know what I have to do. Tom looked at her, his heart in his throat. What are you going to do? Zara took a deep breath and smiled, a small, tender smile that made Tom's heart skip a beat. I'm going to stay. I've spent my whole life following orders, living by rules. But now I know that there's more to life than duty. There's love, there's connection, and there's you. I choose you, Tom. I choose this. Life with you. Tears welled up in Tom's eyes as he pulled Zara into his arms. He had chosen him. She had chosen a life with him, a life that was uncertain, but filled with love and possibility. He couldn't believe it. He had never expected this. He didn't want anything else. Are you sure? He asked, his voice thick with emotion. Zara found herself staring at the stars one night, thinking about everything she had left behind. She had made the choice to follow her heart, but she couldn't ignore the weight of what she had given up. She had always believed that her mission, her duty to her people, was the most important thing. She had walked away from it, choosing a life with Tom. But could she really leave everything behind? Could she truly live without the structure and order she had known for so long? Tom noticed that Zara had become quieter again, lost in her thoughts. He had seen the signs the way. She would sometimes stare at nothing, the way her smile would fade in moments of silence. He knew something was on her mind, but he didn't know how to approach it. They had both been through so much, and he didn't want to push her away by making her talk before she was ready. One evening, as they sat together on the balcony of Tom's apartment, Zara turned to him, her expression serious. "Tom, there's something I need to tell you," she began, her voice steady but filled with uncertainty. Tom's heart skipped a beat. "What's wrong, Zara?" Zara took a deep breath before continuing. "I've been thinking a lot about my people, about what I left behind. I didn't just walk away from a job, I walked away from everything I've known. My family, my friends, my entire life. And I'm not sure if I made the right choice. I've never felt this conflicted before." Tom reached out and gently took her hand, his fingers warm against her cool skin. "Zara, I understand how hard this must be for you. But I want you to know something." He paused, searching for the right words. "You didn't just choose. You chose what makes you happy. You chose a life where you can be yourself, where you don't to hide your feelings. And that's a choice I respect more than anything." Zara looked down at their joined hands, her fingers nervously tracing the lines of his. "But what if I've made a mistake? What if I'm abandoning something important? Something I'll regret later?" Tom sighed softly, his voice gentle but firm. "Zara, no one can predict the future. Life is full of risks and choices. You can't live your life in fear of making the wrong decision. You chose a future where you can feel, where you can love, and where you can be free. That's not a mistake. That's bravery." Zara's eyes filled with tears, and she wiped them away quickly, embarrassed by her vulnerability. "I've never been allowed to feel so human. I'm scared of what might happen. I don't want to lose you, Tom. But I also don't want to lose who I've become." Tom pulled her close, holding her tightly. "You haven't lost anything, Zara. You're still you. You're just learning to embrace parts of yourself you never knew existed. And that's a beautiful thing. We're in this together, no matter what." Zara rested her head on his shoulder, feeling a sense of comfort in his words. "You're right. I've learned so much from you, Tom, about love, about trust, about emotions. You've shown me a world I never thought I could be a part of. Now I know that I'm not alone. Not anymore." Tom smiled, his heart swelling with affection. "You'll never be alone again, Zara. I'll always be here for you, no matter what happens." Zara's expression softened, and for the first time in a long while, she felt at peace. The doubts that had clouded her mind began to fade. She had made her choice. She had chosen a life with Tom, a life where she could be herself, free to feel and experience everything that came with being human. And for the first time, she felt truly alive. The next day, they walked together through the city, hand in hand, enjoying the simple pleasures of being together. They visited museums, tried new foods, and laughed at the silly little things that came with living in a human world. It was a world that Zara was beginning to love, a world that was full of color and possibility. But even as they enjoyed these moments, Zara knew that their journey wasn't over. She would have to face the challenges of her past, of her people, her duty, and the expectations that had been placed upon her. But now, she had Tom by her side, and that made all the difference. Later that evening, as they sat under the stars, once again, Zara turned to Tom with a smile. "I'm not sure what the future holds, but I know one thing for certain. I'm happy to be here with you." Tom smiled back, his heart full. "And I'm happy to have you here, Zara, no matter where we go, as long as we're together, I know we'll be okay." And with that, they sat together in silence, the weight of their pasts and futures lifted for a moment. The stars above them seemed to shine brighter, as if the universe itself was giving them its blessing. Zara had made her choice, and for the first time, she felt at home. Tom and Zara had made it through so much together. From the first awkward moments of their meeting to the deep connection they now shared, their journey had been full of learning and growth. Despite the challenges they had faced, they had found a way to make their differences work, to find a common ground where love and understanding could flourish. But even though they had come a long way, there were still questions. Questions about what the future would hold. Questions about how Zara would adjust to this new life, and how they would both navigate the unknown challenges that lay ahead. It was a crisp morning when they received the invitation. Zara had been accepted into a program that would allow her to stay on Earth permanently if she wanted to. The program was a rare opportunity, and it was something that would allow her to officially integrate into human society. It was a chance for her to leave behind the expectations of her people and start a new chapter, one where she could truly be herself. Tom knew this was a big moment. It was a chance for Zara to make her mark on the world, to decide what kind of future she wanted, but it also meant that their lives would change again. The thought of Zara fully integrating into human society filled him with excitement, but also a little fear. Would things stay the same between them, with their relationship? Withstand the challenges of living in a world so different from the one Zara had come from. They sat together that morning, looking at the letter from the program. Zara turned to Tom with a mixture of excitement and worry in her eyes. "What do you think, Tom?" she asked, her voice full of uncertainty. "This could be the chance I've been waiting for, but I don't want to lose what we have. I don't want to become someone else. I've already changed so much, and I don't know if I'm ready for this." Tom took a deep breath and reached for her hand. He could see the conflict in her eyes. This was a huge decision for Zara, and he knew she wasn't taking it lightly. He also knew that the love they had for each other was strong enough to withstand. "Any change, Zara?" he said softly. "I don't think you'll lose yourself. You've already come so far, and you've shown me that the most important thing is being true to who you are. This is just another step, another way for you to embrace that. I'll be here every step of the way." Zara smiled at him, her eyes filled with gratitude. "I don't know what I would have done without you, Tom. You've taught me so much about love, about trust, about what it means to truly live. I'm scared, but I also know this is the right path. For me, for us." Decision wasn't easy, but it was clear to Zara now. This opportunity wasn't just a chance to live in a new world. It was a chance to build a life where she could finally be herself, where she could embrace all the emotions she had once suppressed. It was a chance to make a future with Tom. In a world that accepted them both, as the days passed, Zara and Tom worked together to prepare for the next step. Zara began the process of officially applying for the program, and Tom supported her every step of the way. He made sure she felt confident in her decision, reminding her that she was never alone in this journey. Together, they faced the challenges of paperwork, interviews, and the long wait to see if Zara's application would be approved. During this time, they spent more time together than ever. They traveled to new places on Earth, enjoying each other's company in the quiet moments. They visited the ocean, hiked through forests, and even went to a local concert. Zara marveled at the beauty of the world, amazed at how vibrant and full of life it was. Every new experience seemed to open her eyes a little more to the wonders of being human. One night, after a long day of exploring a nearby city, they found themselves sitting in a quiet cafe, sipping hot drinks and watching the world go by. Zara looked at Tom, her expression calm, but filled with a quiet happiness. "I've never been this happy," she said softly, her voice full of emotion. "I used to think I had everything figured out, but now I realize that I didn't know anything. You've shown me a whole new world, Tom, and I don't want to lose it. I don't want to lose us." Tom smiled, his heart full. He reached across the table and took her hand. "You won't lose it. You won't lose us. Whatever happens, we'll face it together." As they held hands, a sense of peace settled over them. It wasn't about knowing the future. It wasn't about having all the answers. It was about being in this moment, right here, right now, together. A few weeks later, the letter came. Zara had been accepted into the program. She could stay on Earth, officially make it her home, and begin a new life. It was everything she had hoped for, and more. She turned to Tom, her eyes shining with excitement. "I did it, Tom. I'm staying. I'm staying here with you," she said, her voice filled with joy. Tom's face lit up with a smile. "I'm so proud of you, Zara. You've earned this. I'm so happy we get to keep building our future together." They hugged tightly, knowing that the future was still uncertain, but confident that together they could face anything. They had chosen each other, and that was all that mattered. From that day forward, Tom and Zara started a new chapter in their lives. They knew there would be challenges ahead. Zara would need to adjust to a new world, and they would both need to find their place in it. But they also knew that they had each other, and that was enough. Together, they were stronger than they had ever been before. And as they looked up at the stars once more, they knew that no matter what the future held, they would face it side by side.